So, I mean, I can speak a little very briefly about my background, just because I like to demystify filmmaking. I like to demystify the fact that, you know, I really came from extremely humble origins. You know, my father was a civil servant in the government in India, and you know, worked in the most remote part of India. Even Indians didn't know where Orissa was. It's this eastern Indian state, 300 miles south of Calcutta. I guess it could be likened to Abu Dhabi, you know, before the boom. You know, it was really a very a place where not much happened. You know. My first influence was the traveling theater that came through town when I was about 11, 12 years old. We have a tradition of mythological theater, you know, literally wandering minstrels who come and tell the stories of the epics of the holy books of Mahabharata and Ramayana, and they often have no props at all, stairs. I remember the one time it was just a stairs to, and they took it over in a school field, and there was a man who told this great story from the epics, and it was a fight between good and evil, an older man and a young boy, and they proclaimed with their song and with their speech the story of Prahalad Nataka, which is one of our great stories. And having no props, having not a light, having just a school field with a set of stairs, I and hundreds of us were just transported into this realm of, you know, what will the triumph of good over evil. And that gave me a huge understanding, that type of theater, that you can really make a lot with not much. You know, if you have an idea, if you learn the tools of the trade, which you're all doing here, you can really understand that actually the world is there for you to conquer, you know, in the sense of the craft of storytelling and what you need to take people and transport people to the next stage. The story of, I mean, the mythological theater compelled me to get into theater myself, and I began as an actor. What really excited me more than just the normal sort of proscenium acting on a stage was political theater. We used to gather a group when I was about 16 in Calcutta. There was a radical Bengali playwright called Badal Sarkar, and like Mike Leigh, the great director from England who works just this way in the movies, Badal Da would gather a bunch of us actors, and we would choose a theme that was important to us. One of the themes we chose was political apathy, you know, people not being involved with the world. And we made a play about this, and then we took the play out into the streets and basically communed with people. And in India, we have a huge population, so 1,000 people at a go was no problem at all. And you basically engage with people, but you work and you understand the rhythm of an audience, and you work with that rhythm of the audience. And that's another very interesting important thing as a filmmaker, is to understand what the audience is going through, which is why this marketing that I spoke to you about, the previews of Amelia, is very important for me, because what I like most, instead of the numbers and the questionnaires that follow, is actually sitting with the audience when a film is rough. So that you see the restlessness, you see the questions, you see when they start fidgeting, you see when they start laughing, and you see when they are absolutely struck by something. And I really honor that in terms of working and hope, you know, melding the work to that. So anyway, that led to, from political theater, I decided to apply for a scholarship. I had a chip on my shoulder about the British who had ruled India for 100 years. And I had a scholarship to go to Cambridge University in England, because I did well at my studies. And I said, no, I'm not going to the place that colonized us. And I continued to stay in Delhi University. And finally, after 2 years, people don't believe me, but I saw a movie, Love Story, which some of you might have seen, you know, and it took place in this very, you know, romantic university it looked at that time, called Harvard University. And I thought to myself, oh, that place looks rich. That place looks like, you know, it can give me a scholarship, because we had no money. We had good education, but no money in the family. And lo and behold, I applied at the age of, what, 18, 1975. My parents didn't even know I was applying. And extraordinarily, I got in with a full scholarship. They, in fact, even paid for my flight to come there. And that pretty much was a huge step for me, because at Harvard, the theater was very boring, very apolitical. They just did, you know, Oklahoma, this big American musical every year. And I just thought, hoop skirts and musicals, not for me. And I chose the next most related thing to my interest, completely stumbled into it, which was documentary filmmaking. And I was lucky that in the college at the time, the two great masters, the two great fathers of cinema verite, you know, cinema verite means the cinema of life, of truth, were Ricky Leacock and D.A. Pennebaker. These are incredible men who started the first sync sound portable camera, portable sound idea, and actually followed John F. Kennedy. Their first seminal documentary was called Primary, where they lived, like they literally followed JFK as he tried to win his primary and won the primary. And this is what, in the 60s, before, this was amongst the first of the sync sound, and this following business, which is now so ordinary for us, you know, was so radical then. And they were the teachers at the university, which was extraordinary for me. And we basically, like you all must be doing, we gathered in groups and we created a documentary, four of us, it was a group of four. We created a documentary, you know, recording what I call the extraordinariness of ordinary life. And that was my training for about 2 years, but making documentaries with groups of students in Cambridge, Massachusetts. But all of this I was kind of digesting to go back home to India. You know, and that was 1979 when I graduated. Then documentary was like the most boring form ever. In India, it was all about the newsreel, you know, how much coal we've made in the government this year, and it was just like put you to sleep stuff, you know. And but I was very involved with this cinema verite, you know, so I decided to make films of issues that got under my skin and never let me go. And again, I say this only because the initial idea for me to enter film and to enter theater was to see if art could change the world. I mean, it's a very idealistic and high-minded idea, but I mean, it's an amazing privilege to be in an art form that is so impactful in a populist way, you know. And I mean, I've made many films that haven't done that, but with Salaam Bombay, it gave me the privilege of being able to do something that actually impacted government policy on street kids, actually sold a lot of tickets, and actually creates now shelters and homes and amazing programs for street kids for a long, long time.